Okay, written exam now. So we got a question asking for the range, or range is maximum minus minimum, which basically means the biggest number minus the smallest number. Biggest number looks like 197, can't see anything bigger than that. And the smallest number looks like what's right next to it. It's 125. So 197 minus 125. Most of you can probably do that in your head. 72. There's your 1 mark for 72. Next one, let's just erase some of this. And the next one is asking percentage of clusters that have more than 170. So that's out of 12 clusters. So it's already given you 12, so you know you have to count them. We've got 1, 2, 3. That's it. So we've got 3 out of 12, which many of you might know is a quarter, which it says percentage though, so that equals 25%. If you need to hit your calculator and times by 100, but I think many of you should know by now that a quarter is actually 25%. Okay, so we have some important information here to note. We've got 165 eggs, standard deviation of 25, so it says mean of 165, and we're going to use this rule, which means I'm going to look at this page here because I've just drawn a very sketchy normal distribution there with the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. So if our mean is 165, that means our mean here is 165, and if we go plus 1 standard deviation, the next spot will be that plus 25, that'll be 190. So we can get bigger, but what we're looking for is 140, right? So 165 minus 25 is 140. So we're actually looking for from this point, which is minus 1 standard deviation, and it says more than, so we're looking for how much is all of that area, because it's more than 140. A couple of ways to think about this is just remember that the total under the normal distribution is 100%. So I'm just going to do it a slightly different way. I'm going to take from that 100. So I'm going to just work out what this area is here. And so if you're thinking this is this middle part of 68, there's another 16% here and another 16% here. So it is just 100% minus 16% gives me 84%. You could have just added up the other parts as well. So you could have said it's also the same as, if you just do the yellow part, you could say it's 68%. If you kind of just take this chunk here and then add this other bit here, so plus 16%, that also equals 84%. It's going to equal the same number. So there's just two ways to look at that and get your number. So we're back to part 2, and now we're looking at less than 215. So again, we said this is 165 at 1 standard deviation at the mean, and then if you plus 25 to that, you'll get 190 for this point here, which is 1 standard deviation. And over here, if we add another 25, we get 215. So we have got to work out, first of all, what percentage is in this area. And you should know by now, like, if we're here and we go from this point and then from this point out, because that's 95% in between, this is 5% on either side, so that's 2.5%, and that's 2.5%. So we know that the less than our special point here is 100 minus 2.5, that equals 97.5%. And a lot of people just left it as 97.5%. About more than half of people probably did something similar to that and got it wrong, because we got a sample size of 1,000. So you really need to make sure you multiply that percentage by 1,000. So you actually have to do 97.5 per, because per means divide and cent means 100, times 1,000, and that equals 975. So the answer, 975. There's no half a mark here, so you need to get the whole thing to get the 1 mark up here. So don't forget with these questions, it says the number of clusters, not the percentage of clusters. So if you give your answer percentage and not a number, you got it wrong, like half of people. Okay, z-score, just a little bit of theory to remind people, when you've got your normal distribution, and that's your mean, and this is your sigma, 2 sigma, 3 sigma, minus sigma, minus 2 sigma, minus 3 sigma. That actually is a z-score of 0, 1, 2, 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. So, remembering what's happening in our problem, we have got a mean of 165, right? So we said plus 25 is like 190. So if you had a value of 190, you get z-score of 1. We're looking at minus 2.4, so it's somewhere about there. So if we minus 1, we get 140, and we minus another 25, we get 115. And if we minus, oh, terrible writing, 115, and then if we take another 25 off that, we get 90. Okay, so it's somewhere between 115 and 90 is the number that we're looking for. Okay, so then we got to get to our formula for z-score. Z-score, z equals x minus x bar over s. So we know minus 2.5, it's 4, isn't it? 2.4 equals the mystery number x, which we're trying to find, minus the mean, which we know is 165, divided by 25. So you can put that into your calculator and do a solve on that, but it's not really that hard. You're just doing minus 2.4 times 25, because you're taking the 25 and putting it to the other side, and then you got a plus 165 to that. Just hit your calculator for that. And if you do all that right in your calculator, 105. So you can put the number of actually on the line. It is 105. That's your answer. And as you can see, 105 is actually between those numbers that we highlighted there. It does make sense that that blue dot we had there is in fact 105.